Hey everybody, welcome back to the Penthouse. MG here. I'm recording this the day after the last webcam premiere before Worlds, and here is my top 8 deck profile on Pantera Hermes. I did not expect to do as well as I did. I only ended up losing to Solar twice and then Justin on Hermes because he found more Hermes than I did, but generally the day went pretty smooth. I ran into 3 fish players, I won about 6 games and lost 1, which was to Spicy Sausage, who, fun fact, that was his only loss, I think, the entire tournament. So that's pretty funny. But the deck performed really well. A lot of the additions I've been kind of tweaking before kind of came in and performed pretty well. So let's kind of go over everything. We'll start with the Illustrials first. Now, can't have a Pantera deck without the classic line of 1 Pantera, double Twindra, or excuse me, 1 Pantera, 1 Twindra, and triple Hydreic. I had this inside before with the last 2 lists I was running, but I decided to try it out in main because we're kind of moving into fish being extremely popular. It was at like, what, 20-something% in the last tournament. So like almost a quarter of the decks you find were on fish. And I think Hydreic is kind of one of those things where it's like it does really well into fish because like once you kind of start chewing through macro with all the Hermes stuff, that kind of demands answers. They have kind of nothing left for the Hydreic, and even Argo, you would love to swing into with the Hydreic because then you just force them to use like 4 spirits, and then you get to swing over with stuff. But you know, also being in a Hermes deck means that you get to utilize Pantera and Twindra a little bit more, not by like sending them to the underworld, but more so using the utility that Trickery brings, which we'll talk about later, that can either swap out of Twindra if it's getting shielded, or swap out of Pantera if it's getting like Earthquake and resting. Just being able to utilize the Trickery and just like force them to use answers and just kind of ignore them is really fun. And then obviously we'll talk about the Hermes package. I ended up running the usual 3 Spinnet, triple AV Lift Champ, and then a lot of the search targets was double Spinosect, double Carry On, and double Carry Off. Now, some of this is pretty standard, like 90% of this is pretty standard. Like, you want to run 3 Spinets because you want to see Hermes a bunch. You want to run AV Lift because you want to heal a bunch. You want to put spirits back on the Hermes. You want to put spirits back in the Spirit deck. And you just kind of have a lot of more wins to work with. Spinosect, usually, I ran this at 3 before, and I've kind of made the not assumption, but I've kind of learned through, I guess, just research and my own testing, that if you want to be playing just Hermes Toolbox, you obviously just run 3. But if you want to run some sort of sub-engine with the Hermes, so say you're in Titan, you're Pantera, you're Fulgorix, right? You kind of have to make cuts somewhere along the lines to make room for that new engine you're bringing in. And so I feel like Spinosect is one of those cuts you end up making. I still have it in the side, which we'll talk about later, but Spinosect itself, really good. Just being an on-demand bounce is extremely, extremely good. And its stat line is pretty decent, just being a 5, whereas like you can crash with a fish, like bad scenarios, but you can also just be in defense and just kind of say, hey, you gotta swing over a 7 at some point. But yeah, and just being and the Nexus effect does come up sometimes, where it's like you need to use Spinets like really early, or like if you have a Hermes setup already, you can just kind of go affect the Nexus 1, disenchant, and go into the other Spinosect that you haven't found yet. Carry On, it's a necessary evil. It's really bad to draw. Because at its worst, it's a 3 that can like crash with like a Magneros or like swing over a 2 and just kind of force your opponent to just be like, hey, just get rid of this thing, or else I'm going to ascend into something in my hand, probably. But in the best scenarios, you send it off Hermes, and you're able to just special cast it using something in the underworld, and then you can go into whatever 2-drop you feel like, or you just use it for just more damage, like I've done before, where it's like I have a 1-drop on board, I go search carry on, and I normal cast Aviolith, and it's like 4 spirits on board. It's pretty crazy in that regard. But very versatile card when you don't draw it. That's why it's at 2. You don't want to draw it at 3 and then at 1 it's like you use it a lot. You use it sometimes. You at least use 1 every game, I think. Or at least that's how I felt. But pretty good. I like it all. Carry off. Another really good card. Just kind of Earthquake on demand. At its best. And when you draw 1, it's like kind of okay because you get to ascend, you have an 8/2 on board, swing over a lot of different things, and you get to sometimes, very rarely, get to use the shuffle effect where it's like, alright, now I get to get another carry off in the or get another carry off in rotation that use it again, or I can use an Aviolith for like another 4th or 5th time in one game, which is kind of crazy in retrospect, but still really good. Usually you'll see it kind of misenchanted as like a trickery target after like switching out an Aviolith or switching out something else. But generally I like it a lot. Very versatile when you don't draw it. And then of course, Aviolith, one of the strongest cards in the deck. Probably like, if you had to point to like 3 cards to say like why you should be playing Hermes, this is probably one of them. For those who've seen my list, I did end up not running Ambro because of this card, just because that's how strong it ends up being. Because just like you go through 3 of these like every game, like really easily, because you go 1 to set up. You have 1 as like kind of a flex spot of like, hey, I can normal cast this, swing for damage, or like put it in defense, and now they have to swing over it, and I get the heal back. And if they don't swing over it, I can ascend into something else, like say Spinosect or even a Pantera in some games. And then the third one usually is a send back the Spirit deck because it's been you're like in almost an ending game. But yeah, just being able to say like, hey, I'm adding 12 extra spirits to my spirit deck. Pretty good, I think. Pretty good. And then we'll talk about some generic Celestials kind of to round up the list. We've got triple Synectar Champ, we've got double base Aviolith, and double Galaxy. So Synectar Champ, pretty standard when it comes to Hermes. Just being able to go normal cast, search for a counter rune. Pretty good overall, and it being an Earth means that like if you can somehow get a win to it, it's now a trickery target for Spinosect, and you can kind of use it like that as well. We'll talk about him later, but Basic Galaxy, it was what I was running last tournament as well. I was running it at 3 because I was still running like Toolbox variant, or it's just like Hermes good stuff, and this is just kind of a main board fish counter, because again, 20% of people playing fish, like I'm obviously going to run into fish at least once or twice in the tournament. So just being to say, hey, this is a Galaxy, you're going to have to use resources to get it out because your fish combo is now kind of rendered incomplete, because depending if they have double Aepharos or like a Magneros and an Aepharos Champ, if they have double Aepharos, they can't reliably swing over the Galaxy without extra tools, and if it's Magneros, then the Magneros is forced to crash into the Galaxy. And so both outcomes are like pretty decent for you, especially because you can just go, next turn you just go, say, carry off effect to destroy the Aepharos Champ, and just like not have to worry about, you do have to worry about it, but you worry about 1 less copy, I guess. So I did like Galaxy a lot. It forced a lot of different things. Also in some situations, it can also swing over the 2-drop, where like a lot of the water 2-drops that you go into have like a way lower defense, like Joblin, Waylance, some other ones I can probably name if I thought about it more. But, and then the star of the show, Aviolith. No one's really tried Aviolith in Hermes, I've seen, like, at all. It ended up coming up a lot because it's just like, one, it's another macro magnet where it's like you cast it and you're like, do you want me to draw 2 to 3 cards, or do you want to stop that? Some people would use Gorgons on it, some people would use PTA, and for me, I'm like, great, that's really good because now I still get the draws. It's short, it's like 1 less, but like, I mean, the more opportunities to find Hermes, more opportunities to find Trickery, and then also, it's a Trickery target, right? So it's like, if I have Trickery on board, I can swap into something else, say like Aviolith, or even Twindra in some cases, or kind of the opposite, where it's like, I have a Champ Aviolith on board, and I can swap into this Aviolith and draw cards because its effect is on cast, not on normal cast, so it's pretty good, and its stats are like pretty decent as well for this meta. 4 attack is like okay, but 6 defense is like, it takes a bit to get over, and it kind of meshes well with Champ Galaxy, which we'll go over later in the side. But overall, I really liked it. Performed pretty well. Like, round 1 of Swiss, game 2, my opponent goes full back row. They're trying to find Alestrals. I go normal cast Aviolith. They go, I'll PTA that, and so I still get the draw 3. And then I draw another Aviolith, so like, when they still are having trouble to find another Alestral, I go, normal cast Aviolith, and I get to draw 4, and like, even though it's a really edge case of the card, it just kind of shows how well it works in the meta currently. Going over the runes, we've got triple Hermes and Earthquake. We've got no Ambro, which is very new. I've kind of tested with different decks with no Ambro, and this is one of the cases where it's like, Ambro feels like either a win more card, where it's like you're already winning regardless if you saw it, or kind of you're already losing this game, and now you found Ambro. It's like, even though there are a lot of cases where it's like, even when you draw the Ambro, you don't have enough to win the game, I guess. That's how it felt, at least this tournament. That's kind of how I justify it. But yeah, either way, triple Hermes, it's the lifeblood of the deck. You gotta run 3. You want to see this in your opening hand in some way, shape, or form, whether it's like Spine or just the card itself, or hell, even both. And then Earthquake is Earthquake, one of the best removal spells in the game. Just being able to say just like nope to whatever card on the board is just really good in general. And you're ordering Earth as well, so it's like, it's not too bad to run as well. Finally, we'll talk about the counter runes. We've got triple Gorgons, we've got 2 Trickery, main deck 2 P-Box, 2 Shield, and 2 Poison Arrow. So, Gorgon's Gaze, I don't need to tell you. It's the best card one of the best cards in the game. Just, it's seen in every deck. So, if you have it, you have 3 copies, run it at 3. Hermes Trickery, one of the best cards in the deck as well. Like I said before, if you want a reason to play Hermes, this is definitely one of them. This card's crazy. So, being able to kind of say no to destruction effects and just kind of swap into a different card is just insane in a lot of cases. My favorite ruling is obviously the Nova Core and Trickery interaction, where it's like, you go Nova Core effect to pop an Alestral. You go Trickery to destroy your only Alestral on board. And since they are resolving their effect, they have to pop something, and so they have to pop the Nova Core itself. So it's really funny. But yeah, this card's kind of crazy. Also comes up, keep in mind, if you didn't know this, it mentions that it can only be played if Hermes is associated. So that means if you're playing the Hermes mirror, and your opponent has Hermes and you don't, you can still resolve this effect because they have Hermes on the board. So it came up against Justin, but I really lost to him because he drew like 5 Hermes in total, and I only draw like 3 in total across the 2 games. But it's just like, you know, it's like that sometimes. So it is what it is. Either way, Pandora's Box. People have been running it not in main because, like, I get it. Like, if you don't see it early, and then you draw it, and it like feels like a waste, because like this could be something that can help me go forward with a game plan. But in other cases where it's like if you find it early enough, you can kind of disrupt your opponent's plays, and you have a lot of removal in your deck through Spinal Effect and Carry Off and, you know, what have you. Just being able to keep them off extra copies of stuff is really good and kind of slow them down in that regard. And also, for the people playing Argo, right, this kind of counters Argo in a big way because you just get to go equal trade. Like, no, you're not swinging over my guy. You will still lose it, and you get to mill the 2 cards. Like, the mill's, like, you know, it comes up sometimes, but, you know, it's still there to talk about. Shield of Achilles, another removal spell. I do think it's a little weird in this meta, because, like, Hermes, it's no guarantee you'll get it off, because you have Trickery, and you have to worry about Solar. You don't want to be bouncing Nova Core. You would love to bounce a Celestia, alright, but there's a high chance that it might just get blown up anyway. I mean, bouncing back the extra spirits on fish is also nice, but, you know, depends on the game. But either way, still a really decent card either way. It can deal with a lot of different rogue decks where it's like, if you don't pop it, and then now you've wasted like so many spirits on your game plan and just back in your hand. And it's also just a good way to protect your board in order to swing for more damage back. And then finally, PTA, obviously a target for Synectar champ. Being able to have just 5 copies of PTA is just pretty good, I think. You know. And, you know, there's a reason why it's one of the most represented elections in the game at the moment, just because you get to search Trickery, or not Trickery, get to search PTA, and have strong PTA is just dealing with cards. Like, the ultimate combo of Gorgon's PTA just gets rid of anything on the board. It's really expensive, but, you know, you have AVLF, you have different ways to heal back spirits really fast, and you get to swing for a bunch as well. So, yeah, pretty good. I think the main is pretty solid. I don't think I've really changed much going forward, but, you know, there's still time before Worlds, so you never know. We'll talk about the Spirit deck next. It's pretty simple. So 1 lunar, I shall put it up here. 1 lunar, 2 water, 6 earth, and then 11 wind. So the lunars here mostly because of Champ Carryoff, and that's kind of it. There are games where, like, sometimes you'll keep the Lunar Spirit if you have Carry Off in your hand and you want to, like, attempt to go for the effect. But other times you just kind of send it off really fast and you don't really think about it that much. The waters are for, obviously, the galaxies and some of the sideboard cards. You also kind of discard one sometimes, because in the main deck, obviously, you have 2 galaxies, so it's like, you don't need 2 waters all the time. Sometimes you want to keep it, and, like, it sucks if you get rid of it, but, like, it's something to figure out with the deck where it's like, you have to balance what spirits you're going to be sending, because obviously you send 2 wind first because they have AVLF, but kind of after that, you're kind of on your own, where it's like, do I want to get rid of some wind stuff and leave some enough for Hermes? Do I want to get rid of some earth stuff? You know, yada yada. 6 earth is, like, enough, because you have, like, 2 for Earthquake, at least 1 for Synectar, and 1 for Spinus. And then you have 2 extra for, like, if you want to cast Spinus from hand, or, yeah, Spinus from hand, or what have you. There's a world where you can go down to 5 Earth, but like I feel pretty comfy with 6, and that's kind of been like the standard Hermes ratio for a while. And then 11 Wind, like a lot of people play 10. I think 11's fine. 12 is also like a nice ratio as well, where it's like you want to keep it even for AVLS, but like I felt fine with 11. Like there is a world where you can go like -1 Earth, +1 Wind, and just go that way. But kind of depends on how you feel about them then. But I enjoyed the count. It's not too bad. No, I like it more than running up just 10, just because. And then going to the sideboard, we've got 1 Galaxy, we've got double Champ, we've got 2 Tsunami, an extra Water, 1 Spinosax, 1 Falcane, 2 P-Gust, 2 Poison Nectar, 1 Resting on Your Laurels, and then 2 Dynast Marines. So, I've got this whole water package, not to side in, but more so just kind of like flex what I'm doing with the Galaxy, because if I'm playing Fish, then I want to side in another Galaxy just to make sure I see it more often, and just so I just have more copies to see and use during the game, because usually they can get rid of 1, but when I have another one, then they have to use another Gorgons or, what have you for it. Champ Galaxies are really nice because they're just easy to slot in. Because, hey, if I am in a matchup where base Galaxy isn't really doing anything for me, I can just swap into Champ Galaxy, and now it just kind of works against everything. Tsunami is really good for, obviously non-fish related decks, so your Solars, your, I would say Teo, but that's not a really good matchup, like your Frost decks, your Hermes, I guess, depends. And then you can also use it defensively as well, because like the deck has a bunch of 7 bodies, where it's like, you swing with AVLF Champ and all that stuff, and then now you have Tsunami to set on, and then just swap your stuff to defense to protect it for a turn, or do whatever you want. And then the extra Water, you can kind of decide what you want to take out of it, take out of the main deck. If you're like siding out a lot of Earth stuff, you can take out the Nerf. If you don't think you're going to need carry-off, you can side out Lunar. It just kind of depends how you feel. The extra Spinosax comes in handy, where it's like you need the bounces more, so you can like side out the Pantera stuff and just kind of put more into getting rid of board presence and bounces, and that's where the Falcane comes in as well, where it's like you're playing into decks that have heavy back row, or you end up kind of psyching them out with AVLF. Falcane is just like kind of punishes divine decks as well. But just like any deck where it's just like, if you're setting too much, you just play Falcane. And P-Gust is also not bad as well, where it's like very anti AVLF. So like if your opponent's like setting 2, or like even just setting 1 at a time, just to protect against AVLF, which is really fun if they do. But you can just go P-Gust, you can decide the P-Gust go 2 and 3, and then just kind of pop singular back row a little bit at a time. And also, it's very funny with Trickery as well, where it's like, if they try to negate the P-Gust, you can just go P-Gust, or you go Trickery targeting the P-Gust, and P-Gust is gone, you switch into something else, depending on how many spirits is on it, and then you get to just still pop the thing you targeted with the effect, which is really funny. Poison Nectar, another fish counter. The deck's filled with them. Poison Nectar came in a lot of scenarios where it's like, alright, I'm going to Nexus from the Aphros to something else and try to draw 2, and then you gotta just say no and just destroy the base Aphros. Like, no matter which way you look at it, even if they get to still have the spirits on board, it's still like very positive, because you just get to play 1 to destroy a guy on the board. Whether it has 3 spirits on it, or 2 or 1, it depends on the game, but I think it still came up a lot, and it will still be handy to have as long as Fish is in the meta. I don't really think there's a lot of other decks drawing like that. There's like More Frost, but I'm not citing this for More Frost for sure. And I guess Earth Nog which is like, sure, I guess. I don't think I'd bring it in for that either. But in any case, resting, still pretty good. Even though you're bringing a lot of spirits on board, I still think it's a good card to have just in case, because you get to just kind of break part of their board and then go use something like Spell Effect or even carry off to break the other half and then go crazy. But definitely don't think it's a main card just because of how Hermes plays and how many spirits you end up having near the end of the game, or at least on board. And then finally, Dionysus Madness, still pretty decent. I don't think I would ever main it. I wouldn't main it at the moment, just because it doesn't really do a lot. But it doesn't have high impact against two fish, but it does have high impact into other matchups where it's like, if you end up playing against Dionysus, where it's like an extra copy of Pandora's Box and shuts down a lot of their destruction plays with like Drataya or Cypron. And it also doubles as like forcing defensive bodies to swing. It's like very versatile, where it's like it forces defensive bodies to swing. So it's like if they have a guy in defense like Royal Otto or Corvishine, like into Solar, you just get to go, hey, I'm gonna play Madness. You're forced to swing into my guy and take damage, and then now I get to swing at either a mostly open board or partially open. And then, you know, like I said before, you can use removal on the other half, you know, yada yada. And then also keeps your guys alive, where it's like, either protect your guys, or like if you're playing into Tsunami, you can just go Madness and switch your guy back to attack and still swing over in some cases. But yeah, pretty excited with how the deck performed. I think the only thing I would change would be like these two cards on the side. I didn't really necessarily, I mean, obviously citing this in is just for like for consistency, but I didn't end up needing all three galaxies, and the water I kind of felt fine with the whole day. Even though I did cite this in, I was just like, I didn't really need it too much. I could end up playing it in main or just kind of not including it at all. But overall, again, super happy I did well again. It's been a while since I got top 8, so I'm glad to hit it with my favorite element once again. But I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Make sure you leave a like, and subscribe. We'll definitely be posting more content when it comes to Worlds. But yeah, hope to see people at Worlds, and have a good day.